Exploring Feng Shui, characteristics of wealthy land and types of acupoints. Wealth, we have previously mentioned that true acupoints must have both form and spirit. In this section, we will focus on the characteristics of various types of acupoints. Modern people, especially in mainland China, under the purposeful guidance of the Chinese Communist Party, are all focused on money. Without money, nothing else matters, and therefore, let's talk about people's wealth and fortune from the perspective of Feng Shui. As we mentioned before, wealth and nobility are different concepts, and there are differences in Feng Shui as well. Whether a location will bring wealth to future generations in Feng Shui depends on the water. As the saying goes, mountains govern people, water governs wealth. The natural water sources of the mountain, rivers, and lakes in the Mingtang, the size, direction, clarity, sweetness, etc. of the water all play a role. There is a method in Feng Shui called water method, which means to use water to locate dragon veins and determine the situation of the acupoint. Here's an experience. The location of the dragon veins is generally within 100 meters of the source of the mountain's own water, where it flows out. This 100 meters refers to the straight line distance. The source water generally represents the wealth inherited from the family or acquired through the family's power. The rivers, lakes, and other water bodies in the pattern represent the wealth that the person from the acupoint will acquire in their lifetime. And the larger the water, the more wealth they will have. Clean and clear water represents a legitimate source of wealth earned through hard work and effort. Muddy water represents illegitimate sources of wealth, such as gray income, bribery, etc. And this type of wealth will quickly consume one's blessings and fortune, leading to the dissipation of wealth. Sweet water, especially from the source, represents a kind-hearted and pure person who is willing to help others. Bitter water represents a person who may have a hard time partying with their wealth. Nobility gui depends on the mountain. If the ancestral mountain is tall and has a good back, and the dragon's veins are winding and undulating, it indicates that the family's influence is vast. If there is a mountain-shaped table, pen holder, or seal in the Mingtang, it implies power. If there are many mountains facing the outer hall, and they are of various shapes, it indicates that there are various talents under one's command. If there is a large or strange rock in the inner hall, and it is in a protective shape, it implies that there are close and important people around. Their positions are significant, even if their status may not be high. The green dragon and white tiger must also follow the principles of Feng Shui. The green dragon, formed by the numerous mountain heads on the left of the position, should be dynamic and agile, which symbolizes civil officials. The white tiger, formed by the numerous mountain heads on the right, represents military generals. The white tiger should be lower than the green dragon, and it must look back towards the position. Otherwise, it indicates a rebellious sign. This is a metaphorical analysis of the entire layout of the acupoint, with nobility as its feature. The specific layout metaphors differ for different types of positions, based on personal experience. The Kui type of geomantic spots, especially those that represent the emperor's land and can give birth to a dynasty, can be felt when standing on the spot with a focused mind and looking around. One can sense a feeling of grandeur, nobility, and vastness. This is an intangible feeling and a result of the spot's unique characteristics radiating out. Just like how each person has their own temperament, some people's speech and behavior can give you an immediate sense of their noble background, regardless of the East or the West. In ancient times, there were nobles who held titles such as Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount, and Baron. Nobles. This is not the modern concept of status and hierarchy, which is distorted by the pursuit of power and wealth. Rather, it refers to a person with high moral character and noble soul, who conducts themselves and their affairs according to noble standards. For example, the Western knights that modern Chinese people are familiar with are nobles, who follow the code of chivalry established by King Arthur. I place my sword before the face of God, and I swear with my life and soul I will remember humility, honor, sacrifice, bravery, mercy, spirit, honesty, justice. Humility. If you are a knight, you should be courteous and polite to everyone who does not harbor ill intentions. Honor. People pay attention to you, and so does God. Knight. You must not be slack in cherishing and defending your honor. sacrifice. Let us pay tribute to those warriors who sacrificed themselves. We must express the necessary etiquette and respect for this kind of self-sacrificing spirit. Valor. Without a doubt, a coward does not deserve the title of a knight. A person without courage cannot pass the test of a knight. One of the essential virtues of a knight is bravery, fearlessly declaring war on evil and stepping forward to protect the weak in critical moments. You cannot retreat. Compassion for opponents who are brave enough to sacrifice. Knights are filled with respect in their hearts, which leads them to dare to disobey the king's orders. There is a saying that heroes cherish heroes, and in the two people who become opponents under unavoidable circumstances, friendship may be greater than hatred. Spirituality. We know that knights and beliefs are inseparable, and in the selection process of knights, understanding of faith and God's will is also an indispensable part. Honesty. Knight, to gain the trust of others, you must be honest. Face your own soul with honesty and be able to withstand God's questioning. Justice, impartial and fair, strictly abide by the law and act according to regulations. I swear to treat the weak with kindness. I swear to courageously resist tyranny. I swear to fight against all wrongs. I swear to fight for the unarmed. I swear to help anyone who asks for my aid. I swear not to harm any woman. I swear to assist my fellow knights. I swear to be sincere with my friends. I swear to love until death do us part. Just think about it. If a person can act according to these standards, wouldn't he be a nobleman? Whether or not he has been bestowed with worldly titles and honors, he is still a nobleman. On the other hand, if you cannot meet these standards, regardless of any title you may hold, you do not deserve to be a nobleman. In ancient China, there were also corresponding standards, such as the Confucian concept of a gentleman, or junzi, which is a standard. The gentleman is suitable for possessing the virtues of wisdom, benevolence, and courage. And the saying goes that a benevolent person is free from worry, a wise person is free from confusion, and a brave person is free from fear. This is still the standard set by Confucius and the Confucian school. During the Xia, Shang, and Zhou periods, the standard for a gentleman was even higher. The gentleman was expected to constantly improve oneself, to meet the demands of a higher level of the will of heaven. As the saying goes, heaven moves with vigor. The gentleman never ceases to strive. As we mentioned earlier, in many ancient Chinese dynasties, a part of the cosmological system of heaven and earth was adopted and used. Therefore, the granting of titles to nobles was not arbitrary, but determined based on their moral character and achievements. Generally speaking, only those with high moral character could make great contributions to the country and the people and be granted the title of nobility. Caves. When we often go out to the countryside to play, we see all kinds of caves on the mountains. Speaking of caves, China is actually a country with a rich cave culture. We often see the concept of Dong Fu in Chinese ancient novels or culture. In the past, when people talked about caves of heaven and blessed land, it was real. When a practitioner went to a certain cave on a mountain, it was usually a cave located above the mountain waste, or on its peak, where they would cultivate and spend years there. As their level and skill increased, they gradually connected with another space corresponding to that cave, and could enter the other space corresponding to the cave, which was another world. Hence the term caves of heaven and blessed land. In the novel Investiture of the Gods, when it talked about certain mountain, certain cave, and certain immortal, it might be referring to this concept. Generally, when the cultivator goes to a mountain cave, it is arranged in advance, such as being informed by a master or having a premonition. When he arrives there, he will know, oh, this is the place where I should cultivate. From a higher perspective, perhaps the cultivator's innate source is the life form in the high-level space, corresponding to the cave. He just came to a place within his own system. Many cultivators, after cultivating to a high level, would seal the cave with their abilities so that outsiders could not detect anything unusual. When people with abilities pass by, they may use a similar telepathic ability to communicate with the cultivator and exchange information. Whether someone is a cultivator and has abilities can be easily determined by their aura, for example, by the colors of light that surround their body. The colors of the aura indicate the level of cultivation the person has attained. For example, once we went to explore a large mountain, and near the mountaintop, there was a large white cliff. Then, we received a message through telepathic waves from the white cliff and communicated with it. It turned out that there was a cave on the white cliff, where one of Lu Bowen's disciples from the Ming dynasty had been practicing. He sealed the cave with his powers, so ordinary people couldn't see the cave and only saw it as a white cliff. When we passed by the area below, he saw that we were practitioners of a righteous FA with certain levels of cultivation, and was very happy to greet and communicate with us. He also talked about many things that happened during the time of Lu Bowen, such as how Lu Bowen knew that the Ming dynasty was established according to celestial omens and arranged by the Taoist system, and that among all the warlords only, Zhu Yuanzhang was the true emperor. So when Zhu Yuanzhang invited him, Lu Bowen brought his disciples to help. When Zhu Yuanzhang dispatched his generals to fight, Liu Bowen would send his disciples to follow suit. When two armies clashed in the human world, Liu Bowen's disciples would also use their magical powers to help. And when they encountered other practitioners on the opposite side, the two sides would fight with their own abilities. And often the battle between the practitioners had to be won before the armies in the human world could achieve victory. Later, after the establishment of the Ming dynasty, Liu Bowen was not persecuted to death. When the persecution came, he knew that his mission in the human world was complete and that his merit was fulfilled. Therefore, he used the opportunity to use the Taoist method of fake death to leave the human world. Before leaving, he dismissed all his disciples and asked them to find their own place to practice and not to enter the world again. The previous discussion was about caves above the mountain waste, or on the mountaintop. Caves appearing at the bottom of the mountain are very likely to be the abodes of demons and monsters. Demons and monsters like to live in dark, damp places and have a low level of cultivation. They cannot be compared with the practitioners of righteous schools of cultivation. Therefore, they generally live in caves at the bottom of the mountain. There are many such demon caves in the Yunnan Guizhou region in southwestern China. As a cave from the perspective of Feng Shui, many caves are not as large as Dongfu, and when burying at a certain acupoint, some are at the mouth of the cave, so the cave cannot be completely sealed, as it will obstruct the flow of qi. Some need to be placed deep inside the cave, even in places where people cannot enter. The corresponding acupoint we're discussing in relation to Chiang Kai-shek is a cave on Turtle Hill. The cave is located right at the mouth of the turtle. The entrance is very small and people cannot enter. But the location of this acupoint is in the belly of the mountain, and the qi flows through the cave at the mouth of the turtle. So how do you put things into this acupoint? Based on its function, during the Ming dynasty's Hongwu period, a Taoist practitioner, who was one of Zhang Sanfeng's disciples and had received the true transmission of Wudong Feng Shui, used his magical powers to summon the earth spirit god, a giant turtle, which pulled the burial objects into the cave in the belly of the mountain. The power of this divine turtle is very strong, and its characteristic of being able to bear heavy weights makes its strength deep and enduring. This allowed Chiang Kai-shek to overcome numerous setbacks and challenges in his life, defeat his rivals during the warlord era, unify China, and resist the Japanese invasion, despite their strong military might at the time, ultimately defeating Japan. However, this divine turtle was very dissatisfied with Chiang Kai-shek being defeated by the CCP and retreating to Taiwan. It believed that it had two major acupoints of the turtle, the mouth and the back, but fate had only allowed it to use the power of the turtle's mouth cave. Therefore, after the consumption of unifying China and defeating Japan, it had become weak and had severely insufficient strength to deal with the CCP, which was fully supported by the Soviet Union. Otherwise, CCP would not have been able to overthrow the government. Even so, due to the characteristics of the divine turtle, Chiang Kai-shek eventually retreated to Taiwan to live out his old age and preserved a place for Orthodox Chinese culture. At that time, the divine turtle said, although the turtle's back can bear the weight of the world, the turtle's mouth can also swallow the 8 directions. The 2 points come together, the universe will sit firmly without being overturned. In 1999, during a great calamity that threatened the heavens and the earth, the divine turtle was persecuted by evil forces, which in the human world manifested as the mountain being excavated. Later, the divine turtle sought our help, and because of its historical achievements in resisting the Chinese Communist Party, and most importantly, its correct choice in upholding righteousness, we have taken it under our protection. The selection of caves also needs to meet the requirements of Feng Shui. When standing at the cave entrance, the patterns of the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, black tortoise, chow, and an all meet the requirements of the external shape. Caves cannot be chosen randomly. In folk belief, caves are generally considered to be part of the earth and have strong negative energy. It is not suitable for a person who lacks fortune to ask for help from a Feng Shui master to choose a cave for them. Otherwise, the Feng Shui master may encounter problems. Of course, most Feng Shui masters who can choose caves are historical. Taoist practitioners who possess supernormal ability and are capable of understanding the arrangements of fate.